So you're trying to get funding for your business, but you don't know if your personal credit is good enough for you to qualify for that funding. Well, today I'm going to go over what is an optimized credit profile so you can start getting yourself some money for your startup business. Hi, my name is Matt Coach. I created this YouTube channel to share the tips, tricks, and mistakes on my way to building a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. And today I'm going to show you guys what is a optimized credit profile and a credit profile that's maybe good enough to get some funding, what steps you want to make in between there so that you can get to the point where you can get over $100,000 of funding for your business using solely your credit score. If you don't believe me, well, I'll go over plenty of more videos on how that is possible, how I did it myself. I've done it multiple times, actually, for both myself and my father, and how you can do it as well, what kind of scores you need, and the spots that get you to those kinds of scores. All right, well, without further ado, let's get it rocking. All right, so want to get some business funding. Well, you need to optimize your personal credit. So what I'm going to go over with you guys today is essentially, the kind of the minimums of what you need to be accepted for funding based solely off your credit, but then also, kind of the ideal funding and how you get to that spot. So first off, your credit score, you don't want a minimum of 720. Some people will probably tell you like 680, maybe even 650 is what you'll hear, but you're going to get rejected a lot at that number. 720 is about the spot when you're going to get kind of consistently accepted, not rejected purely because of your credit score. If your credit score is less than 720, you probably have other issues that you need to fix, but 720 is really that minimum that you get accepted. Ideally, you want at least a 780. That's kind of the spot. That's where you have excellent credit. That's where you're going to start seeing these accepted credit cards and lines for like $50,000 when you're in kind of this boat. And really, there's a lot of aspects that I'm going to go over pretty much in the rest of this video. But those are the things that you need to do. You need to raise all 5 aspects of credit score, right? You need to, have on-time payment history. You need to lower your utilization. You need to add different loans to your credit mix. You need to make sure you don't have a lot of inquiries or a lot of new accounts taken out recently. And you need to make sure that you have a longer, that you have more credit age. So you need to make sure you have accounts and that you're keeping them a long time. You're not closing them and stuff like that. So first step, right? So payment history. So your late payments, derogatories. You want none of those within the last 2 years. At minimum, nothing's gone down at least in the last 2 years. And ideally, of course, you want none. If any of these are on your payment, on your profile, even if they're like 5 years old, you should try and get them removed. Go through a credit repair company to get them removed. It's very important that you have none of these on your credit profile if you're trying to get that $100,000+ of funding for a business using solely your credit. So you want to make sure that you go through credit repair if you do have these things on your report, and make sure that all of your credit cards and loans and stuff are set up to auto pay so that you're never missing one of these payments. A late payment on an open account is the hardest thing to get off of your credit report. It's much easier to get a full bankruptcy off of your credit report. I shouldn't say much easier, but it is easier actually to get a full bankruptcy off your report than it is to just have a late payment, you missed and you paid your credit card 30 days late. That's very, very difficult to get. That can take about a year to get off your report. Next step is utilization. So that's, how much debt you currently have out based on all of your kind of revolving debt, your credit cards and whatnot, or lines of credit. Minimally under 30% total and under 30% on every individual card. And then ideally under 10% on every single card and total. So like if you have $100,000 of total utilization and you have 30,000 out, right? you'd ideally at least have that spread out between multiple credit cards. So if you have 5 cards with $6,000 on it, that'd be better than 1 card with $30,000 on it. So at least this should be spread out. And then in your ideal spot, same situation, but less. You want to be basically as close to zero as possible. That might not always be possible for everybody, but 10% is kind of that threshold where you start really losing out on potential funding. If you're in this spot where you have high utilization, you can take out a personal loan to pay off the debt. This can be done like Lightstream or SoFi, Best Egg. A lot of those spots have loans you can take. I'd probably check in with your local credit union, especially if you bank through them. A business loan to pay off debt. If you do have a working business and is making money, this is a better solution than your personal loan, most likely. Because if your business defaults, it doesn't necessarily come back onto you solely. It usually will at this stage for most of the people I'm talking to, because you're probably personally guaranteeing debt, but this isn't necessarily that you have to personally guarantee it. And then a business balance transfer liquidation. So what you do is you take out like a business credit card and you try and get either a balance transfer check, which is essentially where they take out the value of that credit card and transfer it into like your bank account. I think Wells Fargo does that. Chase might do that as well. That's pretty rare though. It's a little bit easier just to go through a liquidator. So that's a card liquidator, somebody who basically charges you for your credit card and then sends you back the cash in exchange for a fee. You can look through different liquidators to find that. It's definitely a bit of a brutal process to find a card liquidator that works. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that, but I'll have to make another video on that, how to find one of those. Credit mix. So minimally, you want at least 1 installment loan and 2 credit cards on your report. So an installment loan, like that could be like a student loan, or just a personal loan that you have, and then a couple credit cards. That's minimum. And then ideally, you want 2 installment loans, a mortgage, an auto loan, and 4 or more credit cards reporting. So if you have all of this reporting on time, you should be in the neighborhood of 800 score. You'll kind of notice that with all the ideals, under 10%, no late payments. That's kind of what's going to get you to this 780 credit score that I'm talking about, 780 plus. So what you want to do, if you're in this spot and you're like, well, I don't want to take out a lot of debt. To do this, I usually pay for stuff all in cash. How do you start utilizing your cash to grow your credit score? Well, you take out a loan for cash you already have. So that may sound kind of counterintuitive to a lot of people. But for instance, if you're going to go buy a $5,000 car all cash, what would be even better is to take out a used auto loan for $5,000, buy the car for $5,000, and then go and pay off, $4,500 of that loan, the next month, so that you're not paying an incredible amount of interest. You're only paying, $500 worth, and then that's the interest that you're accruing, but you're getting that loan to report to your credit mix. Now, I'm telling you this under the precedence that you're trying to optimize your credit profile. You're trying to get that 800 or so credit score, and you're trying to do it as quick as possible. You can do all of these things naturally, right? If you're not in any kind of rush, if you're not somebody who's trying to buy a house in the next year or two or start a business and don't need that 800 credit score immediately, get your mortgage. I'm not saying to go out and, get a mortgage on a house that you can't afford, just so you can hopefully have a higher credit score. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But you can do that. You can also do a pledge loan, which is where you put, $10,000 or so in a savings account with a lot of different credit unions. And then basically they give you back a $10,000 loan, and then you pay off that loan similar to how I just told you to do the auto loan, and you get, $500 reported into your credit report that you're paying some interest on. And you're essentially using using that smaller loan, and it's showing that you paid off a large amount of a loan, so you're jumping that score up very quickly. And then you want to make sure you're taking out about 2 new credit cards every 6 months while you're trying to build. You can really do this, really at 4 credit cards, you're not seeing a whole lot of gain. I think you do need about 16 total revolving accounts to get a perfect 850 credit score. So if that's your goal for whatever reason, that you need that perfect 850, then you're gonna need 16. So you'd have to do this for like 3 or 4 years to get to that point, and then you'd have to wait, I think it's 7 years after that before you'd hit that 850 score. But if that's your goal, if you have some kind of weird obsession with making sure you have a very perfect, the exact perfect credit score, it's pretty much how you do it. Would be a mortgage, auto loan, 2 installment loans, and I guess that'd be like 12, 13 credit cards coming through, and some lines of credit and things like that. Credit age, so minimum 1 year. So you want to make sure that the average of all your credit history is at least a year old. Ideally, you're in the 5+ year range. My average age is 2 years, so it can be done without being in this 5+ year range. You want to make sure you add authorized users to your credit history and do not close out accounts. So when you close out accounts, you're taking away those accounts from reporting to your credit anymore. So you want to make sure all your accounts stay open. So if you have a credit card you barely use, you want to make sure you put like a Netflix on it or something like that, so that thing stays open, so it keeps reporting and keeps going perfectly for you. So even if you have a $500 credit card you never use anymore, make sure that you put something on it so it does not close out. And that's how you keep building your credit age over time. Inquiries. So your maximum amount of inquiries is 3 inquiries in 6 months or 5 in 1 year per bureau. So this means that you could have 3 in the last 6 months on TransUnion, 3 in the last 6 months on Experian, 3 on Equifax, or 5 in the last year on TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax. And that would be the spot when basically you are going to get rejected. Is that 4th inquiry in 6 months or 6th one in a year, you're going to start getting rejected. So maybe maximum should have been 2 and 4, I guess, for that. But this is essentially the spot where you've maxed out all your inquiries and you're going to get rejected purely for inquiries. Ideally, you have no inquiries on your report. That's the spot that you'd like to be. Obviously, when you're shopping around things like mortgages and other loans, you get inquiries on your reports. That's pretty typical. So what you want to do is utilize Credit Repair to remove inquiries attached to non-open accounts. So when you have, when you go about, if you are in this spot where you have 3 inquiries on all of your credit bureaus in the last 6 months, probably you aren't in a spot, maybe you are, where all of those are attached to open accounts. Maybe you got multiple mortgages or something in the last couple months because you started into real estate and had it all on your personal credit report, and you didn't do it the right way, because I'm going to have a video on how to do that without getting all those inquiries on your report. But you want to make sure that that's not the situation. So if you went and shopped your mortgage and you got 4 or 5 inquiries on your report in the last 6 months for one loan, you want to remove those other 4 inquiries because they aren't attached to any loan. So you'd go and you'd utilize Credit Repair to remove those inquiries. So just the one that's actually attached to your mortgage is the one that stays on your report. Everything else should be deleted and no longer hurting your report. Personal credit limits. So minimally, you have at least one card at $8,000. So you'd have one credit card that has an $8,000 limit, and $20,000 total available credit. So that means that you'd have a couple other credit cards at that spot, that are mixed around to get you to that $20,000 spot, or an authorized user could get you to that spot. Ideally, though, you have at least 2 cards over $10K and $75K total credit available. So now, this total credit available is affected by your authorized users, but this has to be a personal card. this 8K or 10K. These have to be in your name. So if you have an authorized user with $50,000 total credit and you have your own 2 credit cards for 10K a piece, you'd be in this optimal kind of spot. So it actually can make sense to get rid of an authorized user if you have too much total credit available, because 100K is kind of your maximum credit available. Maybe even 90K is probably closer to that real max. But essentially at 100K, what you need to understand is that you go to a lender, right, for your business. They're going to look at your personal credit report and they're going to go, hey, you have $100,000 already available to you, and we're going to lend you money. So they're going to see that you have this $100,000 available. That's kind of risky to them because you could go and spend all that 100K and then also spend their money. And then they don't know if they get paid back or you're going to pay back 100K. Like personally, you're probably going to pay back your personal stuff before your business stuff. So that's when you become more risky. So you're kind of ideally between, $50 to, probably $90,000 is that ideal kind of mark. So 75K is that kind of rough estimate number, as long as you're kind of in between 50 to 90K, and authorized users do affect this. So, if you have an authorized user for $50,000, it may not be in your best interest to keep that account anymore long term, because it can affect this total credit availability if you're looking to get your own credit cards and you're looking to get your business funding. So keep that available. If you are over this, you can ask for credit decreases. So what you want to do if you're under this amount, right, is you want to ask consistently as you pay off these credit cards for credit line increases. So every 6 months, you can ask every 3 months typically, but 3 to 6 months, you'll probably have to ask a rep. It's different for each individual entity, but you get a credit line increase. So that's when they go from 4K to, you ask for 8K and you tell them, that, maybe you're making more money or something along those lines, but you ask for an increase. And then if you are over this 100K mark, you might actually be asking for decreases. So if you're somebody who's trying to get funding and you're, 50, 60 years old, you might have a $40,000 credit card, and you might think because you have an 800 credit score and you've been super responsible that you're awesome to get funded. But the reality is you'd actually get rejected because you have 3 or 4 cards maybe that are $40,000, $50,000 cards. And even though it's great to keep your utilization up here, utilization low under that 10% mark, you're actually riskier lenders because you have the ability to max out $100,000 worth of credit already. So that's a spot when you'd ask for a credit decrease if you're trying to start a business or get a new loan. So thanks y'all for watching. Those are the tricks to basically get yourself that optimized personal credit profile, to make sure that you're as attractive as possible to get lenders. This is primarily what you would do if you want to get $100,000 or more of funding based on your personal credit profile, and that's it. Like you don't need really anything else. Obviously, a little bit of cash to throw in some bank accounts can definitely help get you a little bit higher, but you can get $100,000 without really doing anything if you have this optimized personal credit report. Anything other than obviously applying for those cards. So there you guys go. Have a good rest of y'all's day. Catch you later.